This is part 2 of our 2-part series on jealousy and envy. If you haven't yet, go back and listen to part 1 and then come right back here for part 2. We'll be here. We're 2 childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo!
So, how about envy for you, Carrie?
Yes. So I do envy people who occupy the same space as me. Right. So I've identified these kind of like these this set of criteria of what it looks and means to be Carrie. And that is a short girl. Yes, it's even about height. Like if I meet a short, peppy, quirky, funny little gal that's also creative, oh, I don't know what to do with that because I'm like, wait, that's the space that I occupy. So what are you doing? And it calls into question my very identity, which says a lot about how I build my identity, which is something that I am working on for sure. I've heard people say like, "Oh, Anna Kendrick, you remind me of Anna Kendrick or Kristen Bell." I won't watch things with those people in them. That's how deep it runs because I do not want anyone invading the space that I take up. Yeah. So that's how it shows up for me.
So this is weird because I'm this person that's like obsessed now with the categorization.
Mm-hmm.
Is that more that you're jealous of them then? Because they're taking up they're potentially taking a
Mm-hmm.
connection that you have away. Like it's not like you want them like want what they have. It's that you are what they have and you don't want them taking your thing away. Is that jealousy?
I
I'm
don't
sorry. That's
know.
weird. All
No, it's
things
not
can
weird.
exist. Gray, Emily,
It's
gray.
it's probably a little bit of a mixture of both. I guess if I'm worried, let's put it this way. Did I ever really have it if I'm worried about losing it so much? I don't know. Like this idea of cariness that I've built in my head. Short, quirky, funny, peppy, kind of silly, a little bit irreverent and inappropriate sometimes. Like the people that are that so wonderfully and confidently inhabit a space. Do they worry about losing it if they're truly confident? Like, do you worry about losing your nose? You know?
Only if I had syphilis.
I mean, but
But
that
it's such an integral part of who you are.
right.
Do you worry about losing it? But is it that you're worried about losing? That's what I am saying about the jealousy thing. You're not. I would say it seems like you're not worried about losing your personality. You're worried about losing the individuality that people perceive you have.
Mm.
To that's the better version of what you've got.
I'm worried that someone will come along and be a better Carrie than I am.
Mm,
Or
mm,
what I've defined as her.
mm.
Can that happen? I mean, like,
It literally can't. But
right.
I know what you're saying though.
But they can show up and be cuter, shorter, funnier, more quirky, and at the same time, more authentic than I feel like I am.
Hmm. And then what?
Then come the feelings of like, oh, because they are so authentically themselves, I am not good enough. I've failed at being the one thing that I feel like I can never have taken away from me. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, it's weird.
Hmm.
Does that make sense at all?
I hear what you're saying. I think it makes sense, but I by definition no one can be you.
Right. Right.
So it's like I that's why I'm thinking about what they're taking really. They're taking if to me this it feels like a jealousy issue because it's a perception of a following of people that like you, your
Mhm.
friends, your husband, your kids, your like the people who love your brand.
Mhm.
And knowing that another person could exist that would take the flashiness away from your brand for the collective human experience and massively prefer their brand of you,
Mhm.
because it's like, where's the loss? Like, you know what
Right.
I mean?
I
Is
th-
it or is it just in general?
I think underneath all of it is this deep, deep fear that I am not enough.
Mm,
Because so much of this is, I mean, it's truly, I love making people laugh. I like being myself, but there is an element of performance that
mhm,
comes along with it.
mhm,
That if I'm not on, hey, then people will discover that I'm actually not any of those things.
mm,
And then they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, hmm." And all of
mhm,
that, the performance bit for my Enneagram 4 self feels so inauthentic. So
mm.
I'm constantly running around being like, "Are you performing or is this real? Are you performing or is this real?" You know?
So then you don't feel like you're ever actually yourself because you're constantly asking yourself if you're yourself.
Yeah, what is
Yeah,
myself? What
yeah,
I don't know. Is it the funny girl? Yes. Is it also the girl that's on the couch crying because she's had a rough day? Yes.
mhm,
Like it's all it's accepting, like I tend to accept the parts that are showable
mhm.
and I reject the parts that are not. And that doesn't make for that's not a very strong foundation on which to build oneself.
So, yeah, uh, that also means whoever's carrying harder than you is doing the same shit though. Like, we're all doing that.
Right.
So, I think that's where I can escape the cycle myself is
Mhm.
that I'm like, "Well, that bitch is also crazy." Like, you know what I mean? Cause
Uh-huh.
cause humans be humaning, and anybody who we think isn't, it's not
Mhm.
true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I can't be in this trap about these people. They're
Mhm.
doing it too. I just only get to see certain snippets. And the more famous they are, like Anna Kendrick and who was the other person?
Kristen Bell.
And Kristen, but yes, the more famous you are, the more control you have over what people see of you.
Mm.
Like more people see of you, right? But I think all of this, and I don't know if she probably talks about this in the book, but I feel like all of this comes back to exactly what you're saying, which is our perception of ourselves is actually what we are reflecting off of others, right?
Mhm.
Like, so my level of envy, my level of jealousy is really about like what I think about myself,
Right.
right? And
Sh
that's the worst.
she does. Okay, so right after
That's the
she
work.
right after she talks about envy and jealousy, she talks about resentment, which I think is the key to all this because it almost is like to me, it's like I feel the envy, which feels really bad. And then I resent that other person. It's almost like you feel one first, and then that leads to the other
Mm,
feeling.
okay.
And this is how she defines resentment. Resentment is the feeling of frustration, judgment, anger, better than, and or hidden envy related to perceived unfairness or injustice. It's an emotion that we often experience when we fail to set boundaries or ask for what we need. or when expectations let us down because they were based on things we can't control, like what others think, what they feel, or how they're going to react.
Okay, so that is so much. I want to
Uh
hear
huh.
all of that like 10 more times. Uh, okay. S-
So, what I
Say the
read,
first part.
yeah. Resentment is the feeling of frustration, judgment, anger, better than, and or hidden envy related to perceived unfairness or injustice.
Okay.
And then this, yeah.
So if just that, like these are very heavy things.
Ooh.
Better than that one stuck out to me because everything else is kind of like, I feel bad, I'm angry at you, da, da, da. I'm better than you. Is that like what we're saying? Because that is a defense. Like I said in
Mm-hmm.
middle school, that I'm like, you can be pretty, but I am so much better than you. Like
Uh-huh.
I had to do that to put myself in a category that's separate,
As a
right?
defensive mechanism.
Right, and
Mhm.
I love that then I was like, "Why did everybody think I thought I was better than them? That's not oh, that
Ah.
sucks." But I actually didn't. I was trying to be like, "It's okay, I have things that are good about me that are better
Mhm.
than what you have, and you have that that's better than what I have." Interesting. Okay, and then which is what is the end of that statement again?
The second part,
Yeah, the so what you
better
just
than
read.
and or hidden envy related to perceived unfairness or injustice.
Okay, great. Sorry. This is like
Yeah.
big stuff that I'm like,
Mhm.
am I the only one who has to chew these things up like this? Because I'm like, I hear all these words and my brain starts lighting up and then I don't hear the rest of them. I don't know.
This is why this book was made because she could have just published a list of emotions with their definitions and called it a day. She wrote this much of a book, and it's literally that. It's us chewing on definitions.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So next part of
The
this. So,
next part, and this is the
mhm,
part that speaks to me the most. It's an emotion that we often resentment, by the way, we're talking about resentment.
mhm.
It's an emotion that we often experience when we fail to set boundaries or ask for what we need or when expectations let us down because they were based on things we can't control, like what others think, what they feel, and how they're going to react.
This is huge for creative people.
Yeah, huge. So when I'm feeling resentment towards someone else, it almost never, and maybe even never, I don't know, but I'm going to say almost never, has anything to do with them. It has everything to do with me, I feel, and what I'm allowed to ask for and what
Mm,
I'm allowed to allow myself to need. It's that's that someone else has given themselves options and occasions that I haven't given myself. So when
mm,
somebody's up there performing and I'm like, "Oh shit, they're doing such a good job." It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with what am I allowing myself to do? What
mm,
am I putting myself in those spaces of performing? No.
mhm,
Why not?
mhm,
So I am because I'm scared, most likely.
mm,
So I'm not allowing something for myself that that other person is allowing for themselves.
mhm,
That's a me
mhm,
issue, not
mhm.
them.
Yeah. And then resenting also how people perceive them because of what they're doing, like,
Mhm.
that is out of your control. There are things sorry, so that's, like, this big breakdown. I okay, this sounds insane, but a weird source of resentment that I have, and I'm outing Corey with this, a sidewalk in New York. I've talked about this, "Hey, I'm walking here" thing is like a joke, but to be honest, I get really irritated with people who don't move over if they're walking and I need to walk too. I think about other people and I like move so that people can get by me and I think about where to wait if they're already coming with something. So many people do not do that.
Mhm.
and it infuriates us. Like, but the real thing is they don't give a shit, and that's what I fucking hate. Like,
Mhm.
I so to me, I'm not drawing a boundary and taking up my own space. You should not either.
Mm.
Like, I resent the fact that you're not constantly calculating the amount of sidewalk per person. I'm mad at myself for constantly thinking about that.
Oh, for
And I
constantly yeah.
and I also view myself as better than you for thinking about other people, right?
Mm.
I can't
Mhm.
control the amount of sidewalk. I can't control like it's so weird. That's such a strange thing, but I feel
Yeah.
this like resentment that you don't obsess about this shit.
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
my lack of boundaries and being able to take up my
Mm.
own space. And
Interesting.
people always like duck out of the way. It like 99 times out of 100, you will never like bump shoulders with that person.
Right.
You adjust.
Right.
Isn't that a weird thing?
That is
Like
interesting.
that, and I'm jealous that people don't worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or jealous. I
Totally.
envy people who don't worry about it. And then
Yes.
I resent them for it.
Yep.
But I can go to an open mic and be like, I'm good with that because I've had to deal with that shit my whole life. But like walking down the sidewalk,
Right.
fuck you. Like
Yeah, I
it's
get
so
it.
weird. Anyway, that's an odd example, but
I have an example. I am doing some body work and trying to become more embodied, like we talked about on our episode 2 weeks ago. And I have felt a lot of resentment towards Seth, my husband, because he will just take up space. And what I mean by that is he doesn't feel bad for asking for what he needs. He's like, "Oh, it's a need. Of course. Of course I'm going to expect it, and of course I'm gonna ask for it, and of course it's good. It's a matter of course with me."
mhm,
And
mhm,
I've always been like, "Cool. So you get to just take up all the space in the room and just leave none for the rest of us." And he's like, "Well, did you say what you needed?" And I'm like, "Well, no." And he's like, "Okay, well, you have to say it." So this whole time I've been resentful of him because he because of my lack of boundaries. Because I don't feel like I can say, "Listen, this is a space that I'm going to take up. Just letting you know. This is what I want." I don't feel like, and I haven't felt like that I could say that. So what I do instead is I just feel resentful.
mhm,
Instead of realizing you're allowed to take up space too, and if you say, "Yeah, this is space I'm gonna take up," he's like, "Great, I'll move over, and I will there will be space for you, but you have
mm,
to say it." Um, Asking for what I want is really hard, and because I don't feel like I deserve it, and I feel like I should be able to live with less.
mm,
And so that's a resentment that I am wanting to leave behind because I get to take up space. Ugh, that feels so hard to say. Whew, and believe
mm,
it.
mm,
Um, and it's not being high maintenance, which is another fear I have.
mhm,
It's me being a human. And my therapist is like, "Carrie, humans have needs. They have bodies, therefore they have needs, and that's okay." And I'm like, I shouldn't have to have needs. That is high maintenance. Which, by the way, I think that is the result of the patriarchy. The patriarchy has taught us women that we don't have to have needs, that we just make sure everyone else's needs are fulfilled. And that's not embodied. It's not healthy.
yeah. So, resentment, we talk about all this stuff in a negative light,
Hmm.
but there is a flip side to some stuff because maybe you're just an angel who never resents anyone. I'm just kidding. You're not because you're a human. But what else can we feel?
Yeah. So, along the same lines of comparing ourselves with other people, we can experience admiration and reverence at the same time. She defines admiration as We feel admiration when someone's abilities, accomplishments, or character inspires us, or when we
Mm.
see something else that inspires us, like art or nature. Obviously, this probably happens a lot to us creatives because we don't create in a vacuum. We
Mhm.
don't create on some desert island somewhere that no one else is. Like, I get inspired by other creators.
Yeah, maybe I don't envy Lizzo actually at all. I admire her
Mhm.
because I am like I listen I know I'm obsessed, especially lately, since I saw the show, and I am wearing my Lizzo shirt almost every day, which I'm wearing currently. Um, but it's not I want what you have, and I see
Mhm.
her on stage and I'm like, "I wish I were you." I'm just like, "Yes, please, more of this."
Yes.
I want to ingest this energy all the time. Like
Mhm.
admiration. Love it.
Yes.
Okay.
Reverence, which is sometimes called adoration, worship, or veneration, is a deeper form of admiration or respect and is often combined with a sense of meaningful connection with something greater than ourselves. So we could say that um, uh, spiritual environments tap into this reverence piece.
Mhm.
Um, she says here, what's interesting is that while admiration fosters self betterment, i.e., that inspiration wants us to better ourselves, reverence seems to foster a desire for connection to what we revere. We want to move closer to that thing or to that person.
Mm.
But reverence for me, especially where I'm at in my life, I don't think, I'm not going to say reverence is bad. um, Growing up the way that we did, which is high control, fundamentalist, evangelical Christianity, when I hear reverence, I think, ugh. Which is sad because
Mhm.
I don't think it's something that's negative or has to be negative. But I also think that reverence can get into idol land, like what you're
Mhm.
talking about, where
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
I want to move so close to that thing, and now I'm going to dehumanize it by putting it so high above me.
Mhm. Yeah, oof, that's that balance stuff.
Ugh, I don't want to balance. I want it to be
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, can you revere but also be okay with that person being a human?
Yeah.
Can both things exist in the same space? I hope so. I don't know. I've had that
Yeah.
happen with a few people that I really respect, and I want to be their friend, and I want to like absorb their energy,
Hmm.
and then I see them do something human, and I'm like, "Oh. Do I like can you have reverence without like doing that thing?" I wonder.
I kind of wonder if what we're feeling for the people is admiration, but that the reverence, at least in my brain, feels like it is reserved for ideas.
Mhm.
Like, I feel reverence about the idea of connection. Like you and I were talking
Mm.
about before the podcast, when, like when something happens, like we go to Zumba, something is like, quote unquote, oh, it's Zumba, haha. But something holy happens in Zumba. And it's this feeling of we're moving our bodies with other people's bodies that we don't even know. We may never
Mhm.
know these people or have relationship with them, but there is a sense of connection because we're all doing the same thing
Mhm. Like a choir,
corporately.
like you were saying, like
Yes.
that energy and feeling that like yeah, sense of reverence. It's like a holy
Yeah.
thing, but it's not a person.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe the person, like, for example, Brené Brown is a great example of this. She's a human. She's a researcher. She's all these things, but she is fallible and she makes mistakes. However, I revere her as a person who is exploring and researching these amazing huge topics like vulnerability.
Mhm.
To me, vulnerability and connection, those are holy topics.
Mhm.
And I admire her because she's able to forward the movement of those things and to
Right.
help us understand and have better self-awareness and nurture our own empathy.
Mhm.
And for those big human topics, I feel reverence for them.
Yeah, it's like a movement, like you were saying,
Yeah.
like, you're revering the movement and admiring the person maybe,
Yes.
right?
To me, that feels like a
Nice.
safe, yeah,
Yeah.
that feels good. She
Mhm.
also goes into, Schadenfreude, which, I think we all feel, and Schadenfreude is when we take pleasure or joy in someone else's suffering or misfortune.
Mm.
And this is, I mean, we all feel it. It's embarrassing because it feels yucky. Um, but then she also talks about that there's a flip side to Schadenfreude, and that is freudenfreude, which is the joy uh, that we feel and enjoyment when we celebrate another person's success and wins with them,
Mm.
which to me is almost kind of like an antidote to envy and jealousy.
Mm.
Like, if I can put myself in a different position and say, "This is not about them. All these feelings are about me. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
deal with my stuff at home."
Mhm.
My home meaning within myself.
Yeah.
And instead, I'm gonna realize that these feelings have nothing to do with the other person, and I'm gonna instead turn that into Freudenfreude and start celebrating with them.
Mhm. Change the perspective and be like,
Absolutely.
"This is rad." Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. I don't
Freudenfreude, my
Freudenfreude.
favorite dessert at every German restaurant.
I would love to be able to order some Freudenfreude.
Yes.
Ugh.
Is it a pastry? Yes,
Let's
I
say it
think.
is. What's in it though?
Hmm.
What's in the pastry?
I feel like it's like, I think of it like a fritter because it sounds like that,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Freudenfreude fritter?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, if you're from New York, it's just a Freude. I don't know. Uh, anyway, yeah,
That's amazing.
I like that. This is cool. Uh, I feel like I was at a class today, um, that you just get to, like, experience someone who has no idea what you're talking about, react. So
Uh-huh.
that's what do you mean, Freudenfreude fritters? Say that again. I have no idea what that is. Um, but this is some powerful stuff, and
Yeah.
I also think, you know, being able to kind of zoom out and look at things, it helps us. I tend to, like, get mad at myself for everything, as we've established, but, like, be like, you shouldn't feel like this, you should feel like this. That's not normal. Do people feel blah blah blah? And, like, listening to all the different complexities of how people have their human experiences with other people that exist in the world doing the things that they care about. It makes you just feel like, oh, this is normal,
Oh, yeah.
and I can take a look at this and chalk it up to this and accept myself for where I'm at and sort through it. Like, this is really good stuff.
And when I tell you that's this whole book, it's chock full of language that we can use because it helps when we're feeling these very human emotions, and emotion is the essence of being human. It gives us language that we can use and we can talk about, and that we can really understand, like, oh, because it does sometimes envy and jealousy, they do feel like this has everything to do with the other person that I'm feeling envious or jealous of. But then to find out, no, this actually, by definition, has everything to do with me, that transforms how I perceive the situation. And it gives me language that I can use to ask for help. and
Mhm.
it gives me a basis from which I can talk about what's going on inside.
Mm.
'Cause oftentimes that is so convoluted and confusing. If we can name our pain, we oftentimes can help ourselves get through to the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is a huge block that for a lot of people,
Mhm,
and the reasons that we don't do stuff,
mhm,
that we don't show our creativity, and I think that like that resentment of taking up space and do and all that. If you take a look at that, it's like, well, I want to do that. Like, oh, I want to do that. Yes. Like,
mhm,
I don't know. I got
absolutely.
lost in the sauce of excitement for our little blocked creatives
Mhm. I
in
love that
this
sauce.
in this today. Yeah, it's it's a good one.
Yeah. Well, dear listener, if you are interested in reading this book, you can find it in the show notes. Once again, it's Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. We are Emily I was about to say Emily Schaefer. That is not
We
your name,
are we are Emily Schaefer and Carrie Hatch.
but flip that, reverse that.
Yeah, strike that, reverse it.
Uh-huh. And, we will be coming at you again in another 2 weeks, and we can't wait to talk to you then.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo.